Hi, everybody. My name is Kimberly Madden. I should have moved these things here. I am an astrologer. So, what you see behind me is part of what I teach. Today, we're going to discuss something completely aside from what you see behind me, and that is simply the fact of what to do when a family member dies. What are the first steps to take? And what happens. Now, I'm not an expert in estate planning, and I'm not an expert in death, but I've gone through enough of them that I wanted to see if there's something I can be of service with in all the journeys that I've had so far and what's going on. And I'm doing this as I am going through this. So hopefully any snafus or anything that I miss will be to your benefit. So we're starting off here today, and I'm going to cover the topic of what to do when someone dies and what I've done so far and what's happened and what has happened in the past for me with other circumstances. And maybe that will help you in some way. If you ever have any questions, please feel free to comment below. I will check and I will look and I will try to find out the answer for you. Now, I am on the East Coast. I live in Maryland. I know every state handles things differently. So I'm just going to give you what I'm going through because every passing so far that I've experienced has been in Maryland as well. So, the first 24 hours. So there's a couple different variances. If you have hospice, if you have in a hospital setting, and then if it is at home. So I'll walk you through a few things. One of the biggest things before I even get to that, if you know that your loved one is about to cross over and there's an estate, I've handled small estates with my husband who passed. My mother and so my father handled everything through with my mother. So I can't really speak on that, but I can on hospice with both my mother and my husband that passed. My father, however, had a very large estate. Now, I should say, pardon me. So one of the things that I did learn was update the will. We did that a year ago when we knew that things were he was 86 when he passed 2 weeks ago. So we knew when he was getting older and things had changed. Things changed with homes, things changed with his stock. And things also changed with what he wanted to do about who he wanted to handle his estate, and then also the children, because before I have 3 children and 11 grandchildren. I know, crazy, but he wanted to change the procession of the executor of the will because I'm older, and his old one actually had a friend being the executor. Also, my children were older than 25. They had already completed college. So that was in the previous will, and he wanted that changed. And his stocks and things had changed as well. So we went to an attorney and we sat down and we looked at all the different kinds of estate planning that you can do. And so at that point, I created a binder with the most important essentials. So if this is where you are looking into something of what to do beforehand, even if you're not, even if you're in the very beginning stages of it, make sure that you have the major things together. If there's a will, if there's a trust, what are I always hear stuff about passwords and stuff like that, but honestly, I have my father's computer, which has all his passwords saved on it. But I do recommend, because I do worry about what if there's a surge, what if the computer's damaged, what if this or that. So, backing up that file, now that I'm actually saying it, I haven't done it, so I need to do that. But just make sure that you do have passwords, that you do have information, and that you do have, the deed to the house, that you do have the car keys, that you do have the house keys, that you're able to lock up the house, that you do have a videotape of everything around. That's not necessarily the first thing to do, but I'm talking about actually before death. So make sure, because if they're older, they might not remember what they have. But if you have the accessibility, try to make sure that you have pictures of everything for insurance purposes as well. Because when it comes down to it and you're going to do the estate, you've got to keep track of all their belongings. So if you can do all of this beforehand, I highly recommend it. So that's what I'm actually bringing up to you, because all of this is pertinent to when a loved one dies, if you can do it beforehand. So I'm going to show you a binder that I found. This was at Staples. It's absolutely wonderful. And when you open it up, it's so heavy now because of all the things I've accumulated. It actually has two separate areas inside. I used the little screen protectors, the page protectors for everything, because my father was in the military, so I needed his DD-214. And you've got to notify all different kinds of places. But one of the first things to do is have a list of family members, have a list of friends, have a list of all that they were involved with, whether it was their bank. If you can, get yourself as POD or get yourself listed onto the bank, because if not, they freeze the account. So that's one of the steps. Please try to make that before death if you can. Any kind of pets, any kind of dependents, or anything like that, of course, see what their wishes are, or know and plan ahead of time to make that a smoother transition. A list to notify friends. Please, 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 because it may be in the will or something like that, where you do have someone who is in line to handle the estate. As I mentioned, my dad and I had to change his will and trust because it was different, because his old will actually had it where my children were under 25. And so, like I said, securing the home, securing the valuables. Now, no matter what in the death process, you have to contact the police if it's at a home. And I'll tell you about that one, because that's what happened with my father. In hospice, they handle everything for you. At the hospital, they handle everything for you. So then they will notify you. That's an easier transition, because they will have a medical examiner on hand. They will have everything on the death certificate, and it's a lot easier. I am actually going through, my father, today is July 2nd. My father passed away June 20th. And I still have my father at a funeral home because they have not been able to get the death certificate properly done. My father had wounds that kept happening because he had a heart failure and a lot of other things. So he had continual wounds that would develop through the skin from his body. I don't even know if I should really go into it on the video, but anyways, he had wounds that would continually develop. So the doctor, we were with my father. It was beautiful. we were with him. So when the police arrived, they said, who found him? And we were like, nobody. We were all here with him. So then they were like, as if we were Kevorkian or something. And so then I had to show his medication. So make sure to have all of that. If you make sure that you have diagnosis, his medical conditions, because once they saw his medical conditions, they were like, oh yeah, you should be fine. However, it's not fine, because his doctor, who had to sign off on confirming his conditions and everything, wrote wound. So right now, I can't get my father his remains nor a death certificate, because a medical examiner has to go through the process of what exactly define wound, because he wasn't found, because we were there with him. Who knows what that wound could be, and I get that. I do get that. And hopefully that will be resolved. But these are all little things I want to share with you, because I hope you can avoid this kind of scenario. So make sure that you have his medication list. Make sure that you have, or his or her, I should say. I'm saying his because of my father, but make sure you have those things on hand. And then on top of that, make sure that you have the whole medical history, if you can, in a separate binder or folder to walk through things, because a situation like this, you just never know. And if they have hospice or a hospital setting, of course you don't have to have those things. But if it is a scenario like mine, where you're home, and my father just didn't want to be in the hospital anymore. He was in and out of them for a while, and he said no, and I honored that. Now, on top of that too, there's probably a lot more that needs to be said or done if they have any kind of organ donation in place. So please make sure that you have that on hand and on record as well, with their wishes and who they want it to go to. If you can prior, speak with the doctor, speak with their doctor. And that's in case if you wind up with a scenario like mine. A little caveat: if you want a cremation and they have a pacemaker, they have to take that out. They cannot cremate them without the pacemaker. One of the things they brought onto me was, because he was at home, because he wasn't found, because of all that stuff too, the medical examiner can decide to do an autopsy. I didn't like that idea. That did not sit well with me. But I'm letting you know. This is not an easy thing to go through by any means. So, and last but not least, I just wanted to walk you through the things about a general power of attorney. Make sure you have that. Make sure that you have, a medical, I'm just going to look through these, advanced medical directive with their exact wishes. A must. Now, something else in the state of Maryland, I don't know about any other states, but I didn't have to have this. My husband passed in 2005. My mother passed in 2009. And at that point, it wasn't necessary. But they did make it, because my dad had an at-home care nurse and physical therapy. And he had someone through the VA, because he was a 100% disabled veteran. He had someone through the VA that would come and just do light duties, clean him every day, and that kind of thing. And I had to have a form called MOLST. M as in Mary, O as in Olivia, L as in love, S as in Sam, T as in Tom. MOLST. A MOLST form. Not only in the booklet, like I said, to have at all times, showing his medicine and his conditions, or her conditions, sorry. Keep doing that. Please don't be offended. I'm really sorry. That MOLST form is supposed to be on the refrigerator, so that if you're not around and 911 is called or something like that, they know whether to resuscitate or not. So it's a general form like the advanced directives, but That is required at least by the state of Maryland. Check with your state. Check with what's going on for you. If you have at-home care, check with that too. Now, trusts. There's a revocable trust. There's an irrevocable trust. There's another thing. This was said to me, and this is really important too, and this is the beforehand. Your intuition will speak. You'll know when the time is coming or when it's getting close. You'll know. You'll see the signs. One of the things, and this was the most brilliant, I hope I don't get demonetized the first day I go up with this, for saying this, but I had a girlfriend when my husband was on his last days. My husband and my mother both had cancer. A girlfriend came to me and said, transfer everything. Sorry, I had a FaceTime call. Probably one of my children. I'm looking at the phone number just to see who it is, just to make sure, because I don't want to ignore any of my children's calls. So maybe I'll make this quick, or I'll pause. I think I can pause. Anyways, one of the biggest things about all of that is my father and I, with his will, we registered at the registration of wills. I can't find his will, but because we registered it, I could at least go and get it. Another thing too, as far as the trust, make sure that you have all of that on hand. But back to what my girlfriend said. She said, get everything in your name. Transfer everything in your name right now. That was like 10 days before my husband passed. I ran around and I transferred. We had a boat at the time. I transferred the boat, the cars, the house, everything. So quit claim deeds. Great, because it helps you avoid probate. Bank account, same thing. If you're already on it, it doesn't get frozen. Think about all those little things that you have around in the home. My father had a couple homes, so we did quit claim them. General power of attorney, and this happened to me, and this is something that I haven't gone through yet. I'll walk you through it though. You guys are going to join me when I have to go to the courthouse, the registry of wills, and all that stuff too, so that you can see what it's like, but then also see any snafus that I may have, or situations. But then the next video, I'm actually going to talk to you about the funeral home. That's been another very interesting thing, and I'll tell you all my different scenarios that I've had with that, and options that you do have, and things that you really don't need that they try to sell you because last minute decided to do something really, really cool with my dad's ashes. So I'll share that later. And anyways, thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you so much for listening. I hope it's of service and help. Remember, if you have questions, just type them in below, and I look forward to the next journey with you. And we'll be covering choosing the funeral home. I think I mentioned that before, so I can walk you through. I'm still currently doing that right now. Anyways, I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.